This is Pratishtha, your IELTS trainer. I hope you all are doing good. In this session, we are going to be speaking a little bit about your writing task. Writing is one of the most complicated tasks, I would say, in IELTS, and especially analyzing graphs. So in this session, we are going to learn more about how we can analyze graphs and what can we actually write, how we can compare the two different graphs and how will it work. So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen. And this is our first slide. We will first take a look at what are today's agenda. So in today's session, we are going to look at the IELTS writing task 1 practice, right? We will learn strategies for how to write a strong task 1 response. We will discuss how to organize and present the data effectively, right? So it's basically all about presenting your data. We will engage in writing practice with real IELTS Task 1 prompts, right? So that is super important, right? And this will help us to improve our clarity and coherence in the writing. So first of all, what is IELTS Writing Task 1? So in the IELTS Writing Academic task, it requires you to describe any sort of data or a chart, or there could be a table, right? So any pictorial representation is basically your task 1. You can also be asked to write a letter if you're giving a general task, right? So your goal in task 1 is to provide clear and concise explanation. If it's a data, if it's a letter, you need to be good with writing letters. So in this session, we will just focus on data analysis, and then let's see how it goes. And probably in the next few sessions, we will also do the general task 1, which is writing a letter, right? So moving forward, again, whenever you're starting any kind of writing, you need to start with a basic introduction, right? So you need to briefly describe the graph or diagram and explain what it represents, what you're going to tell, right? Then you're going to summarize the main trends or features, right? You do not have to go into too much of detail, but just summarize the main trends. Then you need to highlight specific data points. You need to make comparisons, and you need to, again, analyze the trends. Use numbers, use percentages, or give specific examples. So you need to use numbers and trends, numbers and percentages. And then finally, you need to end with a conclusion, of course, right? Conclusion can include a brief summary. So some strategies for describing data. You need to use comparative language, right? So it should have comparisons. Something is higher than, something is lower than, something is as equal to something, for example. I would suggest focus on key information. It is important that you do not go into details, but at the same time, not leaving out the key information as well. So you need to group data points that share similar trend or characteristics. So again, in a data graph, you will have a lot of things that might look similar. So what you need to do is you need to group those points together. For example, if housing is similar, right? So you need to put all those housing components together along with something else. For example, let's say housing and utilities, or maybe housing and the convenience stores, right? Something like that, something that's related to housing, or maybe a family or something like that, right? So depends on what data graph you have. Again, if we will see a data graph in the further lesson, we will be able to analyze what are the similar trends. I would suggest use a range of vocabulary, right? Use synonyms like increase, decrease, fluctuate, so on and so forth. So we will do an activity, but let's just go through tips for writing task 1. So tips would include that you need to plan your response, right? Use a variety of sentence structures. So all the sentence structures that we have done before, probably just use them. This is the time to use them. Be clear and concise. You need to be clear, you need to be concise. Use appropriate tenses, right? So use the correct form of tenses that are required. Um, use the I would suggest use all sorts of tense, right? Try to use all the tenses, present, past, future, as much as you can, so that it shows a variety. But then again, it should not look over, right? Then we have a couple of common mistakes that people usually make. They do not include an overview, right? Overview is like an overall summary, like an overview of the whole data. They misinterpret the data, right? So you ensure you understand the trends and figures before writing, so you sort of misinterpret the data. Either you're too descriptive, right? So focus on key trends. Don't go overboard because you also have 150 word limit. So I would suggest don't cross that. Try to stop after 145. And then using informal language, don't do that. Don't use informal language. Focus on formal language, right? So for example, this is a writing task one. The two maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. And make comparisons where relevant, right? So you need to make comparisons where it is relevant, and you need to summarize the data. So write at least 150 words, right? So 150 words is your limit. So write 150 to 160 is fine. Try to stop at 145, because if you try to stop at 145, then only you'll be able to stop at 150, 155. But at least 150 words are mandatory. So this line here, first understand what the how we can analyze it. So this is definitely the before, this is definitely after. This is just how would I say, the distance given, right? This shows footpath, this shows vehicle track, right? So all this is footpath, all this is vehicle tracks, right? And then in the middle it's reception, then there's restaurant, all of those things. In the previous lessons, there was like a compass given to north, south, east, sorry, west, east. But in this one, we don't have it, so we will not use it, right? Whatever is given in the question, just basically use that, right? So we see the sea is this side, there is a beach, right? And then there are just, some trees, right? That is what we know. But here we have a restaurant, we have a reception, we have some, I guess, accommodations, right? Because, yeah, these are accommodations. So we have accommodations, 6 on this side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 on this side. We have a restaurant, reception, I already told. We have a beach for swimming, right? Which was already there, but then it will probably have more activities. And then we have a pier for sailing, right? So this would be added. And that's pretty much it. So let's see what we can write. So this data basically shows the before and after the construction of several tourist facilities. The transformation is evident with substantial development aimed at accommodating tourists. So this is your overview of what you're going to talk about. In the before map, the island is relatively underdeveloped, featuring natural elements such as palm trees and a beach located on the western coast, right? So on the west side, there is a beach. There are no visible structure or facility, and the island appears to be untouched. This is like a general introduction. In the aftermath, the island undergoes significant changes. Several accommodations are added with 2 separate clusters of hut, one located near the beach and the other slightly inland. So inland means towards the inside. A restaurant is built at the center of the island, and a reception building is placed between the 2 accommodations. So again, it's really specific. Between 2 accommodation, there's a reception. To enhance accessibility, a pier is constructed on the southern coastline, allowing boats to dock. A vehicle track connects the pier to reception and restaurant, while footpaths link the accommodation areas to the other facilities. So now again, because this information is given to you, you need to use it. Additionally, the beach now supports swimming activities, adding to the recreational options for visitors. Overall, the island shifts from a natural uninhabited place, uninhabited means where nobody lives, to a developed touristic destination with various facilities designed to enhance the visitor experience. In summary, the island has been extensively developed with tourist infrastructures, including accommodations, dining, and recreational amenities, alongside improved transportation routes. This transformation is aimed at providing a more accessible and enjoyable stay for visitors. And that is pretty much it. You have an overview. You described the before thing, you described the after. You also talked about some additional activities, and then you gave a small conclusion. And that is how you sum it up. Now, okay, so we will not do this task because we have already done one. Basically, what we did today was we learned some strategies for approaching the task one. We discussed key features and we practiced analyzing graphs and writing task one responses, how we can do that. So, what your homework would be to probably take the same graph and write your own response. Start from here and until you are independent enough to take up, your own tasks and do it yourself independently. Review your writing for clarity, structure, and accuracy. And you can always bring your writing here and we can discuss and have a look. And if you have any doubts, we can then take a look at it. So that was pretty much it for the writing task one. In case you have any kind of doubts, feel free to put forward a message and we will definitely take a look. So thank you so much for joining in and I will see you in the next class.